Hello, chili peppers. Today I am filming this video and it is May 5th. So I am wearing my Coco attire. So hello. I am gonna go ahead and jump right into it. Thank you again for watching another one of my videos. We are moving along in this novel study. Once again, we are reading Freak the Mighty. We are on chapter 8 and it is called Dinosaur Brain. So I will give you the question after we read, but let's go ahead and jump right into it. It turned out to be a pretty cool summer. I figured we'd get into trouble for running into the pond. It looked bad for a while. When the cops drove us home and I got out all soaking wet and covered with gook, and when Grim was hosing me down, he had this really pruny look on his face, like he was smelling something bad. But the cops made it out like I was a hero or something, rescuing the poor crippled midget kid. So Grim listens to the cop and then he gives me this weird look, like imagine my surprise. And he goes in the house, and then Graham comes running out in her nightgown with a big fluffy towel, and she really makes a fuss. So, and I'm sorry, I forgot to do my recap. So remember last chapter, at the 4th of July kind of extravaganza, Freak and Max were basically attacked by bullies. They were chased and they had no option but to run into like this big muddy pond, and they got stuck, and Blaze and his gang were throwing rocks at them, and they were kind of rescued by police. And when police were taking them home, they're like, okay, what's your guys' names? And Freak jumped in. His real name is Kevin. So instead of saying, well, I'm Kevin and this is Max, he said, we are one, Freak the Mighty. So he kind of gave them a new identity, that they weren't two separate boys, they were one, which I thought was pretty cool and a big thing to their friendship. So at this point, the cops drove them back home, and now they're each home, and Max is kind of talking about how his grandparents reacted. So sorry about that, and we're going to go ahead and get back into it. Me rescuing Freak, what a joke, right? Except that's how it must have looked from a distance, because they never knew it was Freak who rescued me, or his genius brain in my big dumb body. Graham is there rubbing me with a towel, and her hands are shaking, and she's saying, oh, saw those blue lights and I thought the worst. And Grim is behind her looking at me real intense, shaking his head. And he's saying, who'd have thunk it, Mabel? Which is some kind of joke, because Graham's name isn't Mabel. Anyhow, they take me inside, and the first thing Graham does is give me a big bowl of ice cream. And Grim, he keeps shaking his head, and he goes off. What this young man needs is a cup of coffee. Real coffee. And then he gets busy putting the filter in the machine and measuring the coffee and standing by while it drips through. And he's got this stern look, like he's thinking of deep thoughts. By the time I polish the ice cream, Grim is handing me coffee in the china cup. From there, I look, because we never use that. He gives me that cup like it's a really big deal. Maybe because I'm not allowed to drink coffee yet. And so Grim, like, and serious, I open my mouth to say, what's the big deal? You really think this is my first cup of coffee? Yeah, right. And something happens and words just come out. Thank you, sir. And it's like I'm possessed or something. I have no idea where the things I'm saying are coming from or why. I go, thanks for the telegram and the ice cream. Can I have sugar in the coffee? 2 teaspoons, please. And Grim clasps her hands together and says, of course you can, son. And it's like, whoa, because he never calls me that. Always Max or Maxwell or that boy. Next thing, he's clearing his throat and coughing into his fist, and Grandma's looking at the two of us, and she gets this Graham-like glow, like this is how it's supposed to be. The way things always happen on the Wonder Years, with the family getting all gooey and sentimental about some numb thing that the bratty kid did while he's having all his wonderful years or whatever. Graham says, I want you to promise me something, Maxwell dear. Promise me you'll keep away from the hoodlum boy and his awful friends. Nobody got hurt this time, but I shudder to think what might have happened. And Grim, bless his pointed little head, he goes, Maxwell can handle himself. Can't you, Max? Right. Max, not son, which is okay by me. I can run, I say to Graham. I see Tony D, that's what I'll do. Good boy. Graham says, I thought because you're so much bigger than he is, well, just do that. You run away. He's not running away, Grim says, real impatient. He's taking invasive action, avoiding a confrontation. That's a very different thing, right, Max? I nod and drink my coffee without slurping and decide it's better not to mention that Tony D carries a knife and he's probably got guns too, because then Graham would only worry, and she's such a clunker when she's worried. Like I said, it turned out to be a pretty cool summer. Usually what I do is just hang around and look at my comic books and watch the tubes, or going shopping with Graham if it really makes a fuss, if she really makes a fuss, I'm sorry. I hate the beach because the beach is stupid. The cool crowd looking sleek and tanned, and aren't we gorgeous? And because if you saw me lying on a blanket, you go, hey, why is that albino walrus wearing sunglasses? So mostly I just vegetate in the basement and pick my navel, to quote Grimm, Mr. Bellybutton Lint himself. Freak changes all that. Each and every morning, the little dude hums himself over and he bangs on the bulkhead, wonka, wonka, wonka. He may be small, but he sure is noisy. Get out of bed, you lazy beast. There are fair maidens to rescue, dragons to slay. Which is what he says every single morning. Exactly the same thing. It's like he's the alarm clock. And as soon as I hear wonka, wonka, wonka of him beating the bulkhead, I know what's coming next. Fair maidens and dragons. And Freak with that wake up the world grin of his going, hurry up with the cereal. How can you eat that much, you big ox? Come on, let's do something. He's so full of everyday energy. You can practically hear his brain humming, and he can never sit still. And to the pants, I say. One morning when he's ready to yank the cereal bowl off the table, in such a hurry to do something, and he goes, what? And I go, you must have ants in your pants. And he gets this funny look and goes, that's where Fair Gwen always says. Did she tell you to say that? And I shake my head and finish a cereal real slow. And Freak goes, for your information, there are 2,247 known subspecies of insects. Latin name, Formicide, and none of them are in my pants. Which cracks me up, even though I don't understand a word he's saying. I propose a quest. He said, we shall journey far into the east and see what lies there. But now I know what a quest is because Freak has explained the whole deal, how it started with King Arthur trying to keep all his knights busy by making him do things that proved how strong and brave and smart they were. Or sometimes how totally numb, because how else can you explain dudes running around inside of big chunky tin cans and praying all the time? Which I don't mention to Freak because he's very sensitive about knights and quests and secret meanings, like how a dragon isn't really a big slimy fire-breathing monster, it's a symbol of nature or something. A dragon is fear of the natural world, Freak says, an archetype of the unknown. I go, what's an archetype? And Freak sighs and shakes his head and reaches into his knapsack for his dictionary. This is true. He really does keep a dictionary in his knapsack. It's his favorite book, and he pulls it out like Arnold Schwarzenegger pulling out a machine gun or something. That's the first look he gets with a book in his hands. Go on, he says, making me take the book. Look it up. And now I wish I hadn't said anything about the archetype, dude, because I hate looking stuff up in this stupid dictionary. Start with A, he says. I know that. AR, he says. Just go along with the A's until you come to AR. Yeah, right. Easy for a genius to use a dictionary since he already knows how to spell the words. And R's never look like backwards E's to Freak, which is the way they look for me sometimes, unless I really squint and think about it. Careful, he says. You'll bite off your tongue and then we'll have to waste the day at the emergency room getting it reattached. Microsurgery is such a bore. Didn't anybody ever tell you that? Huh? I say, but I do close my mouth so my tongue doesn't stick out. I'm still looking in the dictionary for archetype, And I'm looking for words that are underlined with red ink because that's what Freak does the first time he looks up a word. He makes an underline, a line under it, and you'd be amazed how many underlines there are with the whole pages like that, where he's looked up almost every single word. Finally, he spells out the letters for me, and I find the stupid word. There's nothing about dragons here, I say, squinting hard at the stuff under the word. It says pattern. So what is it? A sewing type of thing? Freak has this disgusted look and takes a dictionary and goes, "You're hopeless." Pattern is a definition. I was referring to the second definition, which is more interesting. A universal symbol or idea in the psyche, expressed in dreams or dreamlike images. Like that helps, right? I'm getting bored with the dictionary, so I pretend to understand, and Freak finally gives up. He shakes his head and goes, "I don't know why I bother. Dinosaurs had brains the size of peanuts, and they ruled the earth for 100 million years." All right, guys, so that is going to be chapter 8, Dinosaur Brain. I'm going to go ahead and log on my computer because I have the question I would like you guys to think about. So bear with me for a moment. So when it comes to Max, when you think about when the cops are making a big deal, how at the beginning of the story he's kind of saying that, yeah, like they were making it sound like I rescued Freak and they're making everybody feel sorry for me, and that's kind of the persona everybody was throwing out, that he rescued Freak. But what is something we could think about if things were like vice versa? So how in the story, based on what you've learned so far, especially in this chapter, has Freak maybe rescued Max somehow? I just want to hear your thoughts. So is it the other way around? Has Freak in some way actually rescued Max rather than Max rescuing Freak from bullies, or rescuing both of them? So think about it. I can't wait to hear your thoughts, and we will be on chapter 9 next time. Thanks, guys.